Welcome to Lifestyle Solopreneur, the community for entrepreneurs who put lifestyle first. Join your host, Flavia Barris, as she interviews successful lifestyle solopreneurs and shares ideas to help you find the perfect balance between lifestyle, business, and self. Flavia is an attorney, marketing expert, and founder of several online academies. She's been featured in major media, including BBC World News, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Post, ESPN Television, and more. Join us for this episode of Lifestyle Solopreneur. Hey, Lifestyle Solopreneurs. Welcome back. Today, I am so excited to interview Janelle Lara. She is a wife, mom, and business strategist based out of Tampa, Florida. She helps female coaches and experts build a six-figure business, which only requires them to work part-time. Sound like something appealing to you? I know it appeals to me. Her passions include being a stay-at-home mom to her 7-month-old daughter, Adelaide, so just a little one. And she loves reading good books and pretty much anything that tastes like mango. She can be found online at her website, JanelleLara.com. That's JANELLELARA.com. Janelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Flavia. I'm honored to be here.
So excited to have you on. And we met the way that I meet a lot of other lifestyle solopreneurs, and that's online, just in a Facebook group with like-minded people. So I always encourage everyone, when you find your thing that you love, your niche, whatever it might be. For me, it's entrepreneurship. For other folks, it might be knitting or riding horses, whatever it is. Find your tribe online, because there is one. Some Facebook group is exactly the kind of people that are going to make you super excited to get online and chat with folks and give advice and get advice. So I'm glad we met that way.
Me too. Yeah, it was very seamless. I think I had posted an introduction and then you were like, oh, you sound like you'd be a good fit for my podcast. And just away we went. So it's awesome.
It's how connections get made. So what do you do to make an income? How would you describe what your work entails day to day?
Sure. So day to day, I do exactly what you said in my introduction, that I basically teach women how to, specifically coaches. So it's always like a service-based business. And I teach them how to build their business to six figures while maintaining their work week under 20 hours. So an average day for me is working one-to-one with clients, interacting on social media, and really just client acquisition, right? That's pretty much what I do, and just help my clients scale their business so that they can experience that solopreneur lifestyle.
And so how did you end up there? So what's your business journey? Because at some point, this wasn't what you did for a living. This wasn't your passion. You were doing something else. Tell us a little bit about that something else, the before, and then how you got to your after.
So it was a long journey to get here. I started out in the field of education, which is basically the opposite schedule and financial position than what I am now. So I worked 50, 60, 70 hours a week and was making very little money. But being in education really taught me so much about how to motivate people, encourage people, push people, teach people, right? So it makes me a really, really good, coach now. But I started in education. So I taught middle school for 2 years, social studies and English. I absolutely loved it. Middle schoolers are the best. And then I actually moved up the ranks and became an assistant principal. And when I was an assistant principal, it was even worse. I was working 70 hours a week, and I worked for someone who was just very he believed in that kind of old fashioned work ethic, willpower and grit, and just the harder you work, the better things will get. And then obviously now we know that willpower doesn't work. There's literally a book by that name, which is one of my favorites. And so, but it was just a very ineffective leadership style. And I knew that it wasn't something that I would be able to maintain long term. So when I got pregnant with my daughter, I started a tutoring company because, education was all I knew. And I realized very quickly that I liked the business aspect way more than the tutoring aspect. And with tutoring, my income was capped. Kids would only be able to come to me from 4 to 6. So I was literally only able to work like 8 hours a week. And, you can only charge so much per hour. And I hated being charged based, like charging by time. I hated that my income was so capped. So I really was searching for something that would allow me to still work part-time, be with my daughter, do what I love, which is business, and just have an income that, I can make it as much as I want or as little as I want. And in April of 2018, so only a few months ago, I hired my coach, and they were making 6 figures a month in business coaching. And I was like, I want to do something like that. So I'm not quite there yet, but I am, slowly building, my empire and my coaching practice. And so that's the journey that led me here.
So I have to ask, when you say assistant principal at the school, is that like the vice principal, the discipline? So you were the discipline diva,
Yep,
like
dean of discipline. Oh yeah. Don't let my sweet voice fool you. I'm a hard ass.
Oh, so you must be tough. I mean, you must be a good coach because, it takes a tough person to be the best kind of coach. You don't want to hire a best friend. You can get best friends for free.
Absolutely. No, I'm definitely, I'm very sweet, very kind, but also very tough when I need to be. So it made me a really great middle school teacher, let me tell you.
Oh, I have zero doubts on that. Zero doubts. Well, that is a really great journey. And I love, love, love the fact that, you were somewhere where you realized, this is pretty good, but I want more. And you weren't afraid to go for it. And you reached out for help and someone to model. And that's always a really great idea. I always tell folks, don't reinvent wheels. If something already exists, go and get to, help, mentoring, tutoring, which, you have experience in. I mean, it's like when you tell even, you probably told this to your tutoring students, you're not seeking tutoring because you were, not able to do it on your own or you just couldn't hack it. No, you're getting tutoring because you're being efficient. You want to get things quickly and move on and have help and not have to learn things the hard way, right?
Well, that's what my parents of the children who came to tutoring, that's what they did. So a lot of them brought them to tutoring just for homework help because they were like, I don't want to sit down and be making dinner and at the same time fighting with my kids and making them do their homework and stuff like that. They were like, I'd rather go straight from school, straight to tutoring. They get all their homework done with you. Like I had a master's in teaching. So I was able to motivate the kids and make sure they got their homework done right. And the parents would go to Target or whatever, do whatever they needed to do, pick their kids up from me, and then they could go straight home. The homework was done. They were delegating and they were using their time wisely. And I thought it was genius.
It is so, so brilliant. And then for anyone listening who's thinking, oh, I love tutoring. And they actually, when you told them about your, 4 to 6, Monday through Friday schedule that you were tutoring kids, there's folks listening who are like, actually, that sounds perfect to me. And that's what, they're going to do as entrepreneurs. And they're going to model that schedule and the pay. And, they're like, that actually seems perfect for me. So for those folks, I want to throw out one more idea for you. There are companies, and I know of one. So if you email me, just go to the lifestylesolopreneur.com website, contact me. I can get you the name of a company that does tutoring in China. So the hours are actually completely different because in China, the kids are looking for tutoring and support at a way different schedule compared to us. I mean, it depends if you're on the West Coast versus East Coast, what time that would be. But I'm happy to share information about that company because I have someone close to me who works in the evening for a few hours every day, tutoring kids in China on how to speak English and on some different sort of language and cultural lessons. And it's really, really interesting. It's one-on-one via the web, just video conferencing. So there are lots of opportunities out there, and the internet is really changing how we work together.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I never knew that.
So let's talk a little bit about what you see in the future for your business. Are you in scale mode? Are you envisioning something completely different as your business evolves? What's in store for you?
Sure. Right now, I'm definitely in scale mode. I filled up my program very quickly right after starting. And so I quickly realized that spending hours and hours and doing exclusively one to one was no longer going to work. I was repeating myself a lot. And just it's just not the most efficient way for me to use my time. So I actually took July off. So we're in July now. I took a couple weeks off of client acquisition which was really hard to do. It's hard to leave money on the table, but I knew that was going to be what was best for my business and best for me so that I'm running my business, the type of company that I want to run and not just on the hamster wheel by default. So I took some time off. I'm obviously servicing my current clients, but I'm also creating a whole bunch of systems right now and really preparing myself for August to hit the ground running again and to be able to accept more people into my program, at a higher scale.
That's awesome. Give us one example of a system that you're putting in place or changing.
Sure. So I finished my webinar last week, which
Congrats.
was relief. Thank you. So yeah, that was a big project. And I am going to be sending out my webinar first organically to my email list and things like that. And just kind of get it validated. And then I will be running it on Facebook ads, and it will just be a funnel that is always running and bringing people into my calendar so that I can, see if they're a good fit for my program.
That's phenomenal. Congratulations and kudos. That is just great. So other than spending time with family, which is something we're all into, and with a 7-month-old, I know that's pretty much the big chunk of what you do because I have a daughter and I know how that goes at that age. But what are some other hobbies or things that you love to do now that you really didn't have the chance to do when you were working your teaching job?
Sure. So I love to read. I'm a total bookworm. If I can get an hour before bed to read, that is like my happy place. And so it's so great to have time to do that now. During her naps and stuff, sometimes I'll sneak in a quick minute to read a good book. Also, my husband and I really like spending time together. So he's actually always had a flexible work schedule. He's been, teaching at the university nearby. And so his classes, are whenever they are. And then outside of that, in his office hours, he doesn't have to be at school. So I was always really envious of him because he had a much more flexible work schedule than I did. But now we're able to spend a lot of time together as a family. So I know I wasn't supposed to say spending time as a family, but when you're able
No,
to.
but I love that because it's so specific about, you were saying we had a schedule mismatch. My loved one and I, we had a schedule mismatch. He had all this free or at least flexible time and a lot fewer hours. And then you were just doing the more than 9 to 5. I don't even know what your schedule was,
Right.
But I'm guessing it was
7 to 6.
What was it?
Like 7 to 6.
7 to 6.
Yeah.
7 to 6. And that didn't match him. And now you can match. You can actually make it match, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So reading, let me know. Romance, sci-fi, nonfiction, historical fiction. What are you into?
When it's fiction, it's historical fiction. But 80% of the time I'm reading nonfiction. Yeah. So like educational self-help. Right now, I just finished Relentless by Tim Grover. I'm in the middle of Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, those two are, you're in the middle now? Those are classics. Are they rereads or first-time reads?
They're first-time reads. I hear them over and over again. And so I was like, I have to just read these.
And there's one more book you threw out earlier when we were chatting, and I didn't get a chance to write it down. Do you remember what it was, or am I going to have to rewind the podcast and listen to it myself later?
Let's see. Earlier we were chatting, I threw out, I don't remember.
So listeners, hopefully you are a better note taker than I was at that moment. I have it. I mean, that's the beauty of a podcast. Anyone listening can actually rewind, go to the beginning. You did throw a title, you said, and that's actually the title of a really good book. So I'm going to go back, listen, and get that title as well. And Relentless sounds really good as well. So I'll add that to my list. On my nightstand, I've got Blue Ocean Strategy, which is a phenomenal book, I have been told, although I have not finished it. To be honest, I've not started it, but it's on my nightstand, and a few others. So yeah, I'm like you. Don't do the historical fiction though. I do more of like Game of Thrones or something fantasy, sci-fi. It's fun to read. It's so great. Stephen King once wrote a book called On Writing, where he said, writing and being an author is actually telepathy, because you are putting a message on words, and then someone in a different place, maybe even a different time, maybe even after you're gone, reads your mind, which is so neat.
No, I love reading. It's amazing to be, especially the fantasy, because you're literally like escaping into a different world, and it's just the ultimate form of relaxation. It's the best.
Agreed. So what do you like to do that you would consider a guilty pleasure? Like, what are some of the things that back in the day when you were overworked and underpaid, you would have said, that's a luxury. I can't do that. I don't have the time. I don't have the money, but something that now you have the freedom and flexibility to pursue?
Yes, I am the queen of self-care. I know that there are a lot of moms who really struggle to take time out for themselves and invest in themselves. I am not one of those people. I really, really, the truth is that I know myself very well, and I know what I need to be at my best, whether that be my best at work, the best wife I can be, the best mother I can be. I'm very self-aware that if I don't put my oxygen mask on first, then I'm useless and I'm not a good person. And I'm not bringing my best to my family, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So I'm very intentional about self-care. I wasn't able to spend as much time on myself and spend as much money on myself before, but now it's very important to me that, at least once a month I'll have a self-care day, and I will, and it's something that we don't talk about very often. I think women don't like to talk about how much money they spend on themselves or whatever. They don't want to seem, I don't know what the word is, but they just don't want to,
Like indulgent or?
yeah, they don't want to seem indulgent. They don't want to seem like they have, I think a problem with women is that we are like the great equalizers. Like, we don't want to seem happier than anyone else. We don't want to seem less tired than anyone else. Like, like even if we're doing great and someone comes up to us and they're really struggling, like we try and make our life seem not as good. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting observation.
Yeah. So women really struggle to talk about that, but I try and mention it as often as I can because I think it's important for women to stop being martyrs and take time for themselves and do whatever it is they need to do for self-care, whether it just be taking a bubble bath or going for a walk or free things or things, that are indulgent financially, like a massage or getting your nails done or whatever it is that you need to feel like you can take on the world. And as for me, I know that with a manicure, I can take on the world. So
Nice.
I'm sure I've got that going.
That's one of those great things too, where sometimes people just think that it will take more time and money than it will. Same thing with like having help around the house or help with meal prep. Sometimes you really just have to actually price it out, folks. Like sit down and think to yourself, okay, well, how much does a manicure and pedicure day, what does that really cost? And how many hours of my month would that take if I go one time a month? And if you do the math, you might say to yourself, wow, if I sell one more widget per month, that covers the cost. What can I do to sell one more widget per month? Because now you've got that motivation. Chances are you're going to sell 100 more widgets per month from just that process, right, of figuring that out. But, if you want a housekeeper to come by once a week, what's the actual hard dollar cost? Don't just dismiss it offhand, assuming it's going to be too expensive or too indulgent or too excessive, and actually figure it out. Think of it as a business cost, because And actually, getting your nails done is a business cost if you are on video.
Right.
So I love what you said about self-care. And what does self-care look like to you? Is it always a manicure once a month or a couple times a month, or is there other things you can give people some ideas about?
Yeah. So let's see, I will get a massage maybe every other month. And then I do my lashes, I do my manicure every 3 weeks. And then other than that, it's really just making sure I get out. I get out and do some exercise at least 3 or 4 times a week, whether that just be a long walk with my daughter and my husband, or whether it be like actually going for a run. And I'm trying to think what else. But yeah, I'm on video at least once a week every day with my clients I'm on video because I talk to them face to face. But then I go live on my Facebook once a week. And so it's very important to me that I look like I'm giving a presentation to a group of my current and potential clients. I think a lot of people they think that they're doing like the fun casual, but really they just look like they just woke up. And so for me, it's really important that I look professional, even though it's just on video. And that makes me feel really confident. So I will do my makeup every day, even though I work from home, and it's not like a ton, but, just a really professional look and recognizing that I'm important and that I need to take good care of myself.
So you're not a pajama entrepreneur.
I'm not, and I'm not a fan of that. I don't think it's as effective as getting dressed.
That's great. So what do you do as ways to be more efficient? Because like you said, you've limited your hours, and one of the ways to make each hour worth more is to find tools and apps and software and systems that make everything more productive. What are some of your favorites?
Sure. So my one favorite hack is schedule blocking. I love it. I think everyone should use it. I use it not only for my company, but also in my home. So schedule blocking is basically, blocking your schedule and just taking really big chunks of time to do one activity or one project. So, for example, in a way that I use it at home is I do all my house cleaning on Mondays. So like Mondays when my daughter wakes up from her nap, like we clean my house and she like crawls around and follows me. And that way I'm able to make all the noise I need to right when she's not napping. And that's like my day. Like I don't schedule anything on Monday morning and that way it's done for the week. For my business, I schedule time to answer emails every day. So I don't even look at my email unless it's my email time. And that's when I answer all the emails all at once. Another example for my business is I schedule time to interact on Facebook. And I do not get on Facebook unless it's my Facebook time. And that's when I go in and do all my social media and work and go live and things like that for my followers on Facebook. So that's just a couple of examples of how I use schedule blocking for both my family and my company. And it makes a huge difference because I only work 2.5 days a week. The other 4.5 days I'm with my family and my daughter. And so I really need to maximize those 2.5 days so that I can get everything done that needs to get done. Because as you know, it's not easy.
It's not easy. And that is a great, great tip. So time blocking, and there's so many calendar apps now that allow you to do that. You can turn off your inbox. Google has a product. It's an add-on to Gmail. So for all you Gmail users, and I'm sure there's an equivalent for every type of inbox, but I'm familiar with the Gmail one. It's called, I think Boomerang is the name of it. It might be the company that makes it, but you can pause your inbox. There's a little button on the top left corner. You click it and you don't see any incoming emails until you unpause it. And that way you're not even tempted. So those are some ideas for you because it is such a good way to just focus, to not constantly be distracted by incoming emails or incoming, messengers on social media, and to just keep yourself organized. I love what you just said.
Yes. And I love Gmail as well. Like I use the Google Calendar And when you see it in the weekly format, it's so easy to time block and just move the little blocks around and make them bigger or smaller. It's the easiest thing ever.
Totally. Love, love, love it. I'm a big, big fan of all Google products as well. I mean, they're taking over the world, granted, and it's probably a bad thing in the long run, but gotta love the user-friendly aspect of all their stuff. It's great.
They make it too easy. It's like Amazon. Amazon's taking over the world, but it's like you just make it so easy for us.
Oh, yeah. The first time anyone on Amazon Prime orders like something,
Right.
like, I don't know, a bar of soap, like, oh, we're out of soap. And you just order like $5 worth of a big batch of bar of soaps. And that's
You're done.
all that gets delivered to you. Yeah, you're done. You
You're
don't go
done.
shopping anymore.
There's no going back. I haven't walked into a store in God knows how long. I'm so bad, but it's too easy. You
Well,
can't help it.
that's another efficiency. I mean, think how much time you spend driving to a store, shopping, asking questions, and then you get you get distracted, right? It's sort of like having that inbox where all of a sudden you're like, oh, and maybe I need this and maybe I need that. And by the time all is said and done, you've probably spent 3 hours on a simple shopping trip to go pick up, batteries or whatever you needed. And you can actually order things in 2 or 3 minutes online, and it's so great. So, yeah, that's another big one we can recommend for every lifestyle solopreneur is really look into how much time you waste on errands and if there's ways to do those errands more efficiently.
Yes, Flavia, I'm so glad you circled back to that because I wanted to say something else in terms of how I save time and also a form of self-care is the meal prepping aspect. So think about how much time you spend thinking about what you're going to cook, going to the grocery store. And if you're not, cooking, then what you're going to order for takeout and how much money that is and delivery and so on and so forth. So we use HelloFresh and not like I don't get any kickback or whatever for saying the company's name, but I mean 3 nights a week it just sends us dinner and it's like prepackaged. All I have to do is cook it and it's for 3 nights during the week. And that just saves us so much time, so much grocery shopping. The other night, one night I'll make salmon, another night I'll make spaghetti, like easy, dinners that I know how to make. And it's just the easiest thing ever. And it saves time, it saves money. It's just fantastic.
I
So,
agree with that. There's also Blue Apron and Sunbasket, and there's a whole bunch of companies that do it. HelloFresh. I've used HelloFresh. I think they're great. And, one of the benefits is you get variety because most folks just kind of settle into the same old every time they cook because they have their favorite recipes. So you get lazy. But with these companies, you're sort of forced to try new things, new recipes, new flavors. A lot of the food arrives in the portion you need to cook it, which is fantastic. So it's really good for busy folks. And for those of you who are gluten-free or vegetarian or have special dietary concerns, most of these companies have packages where you can still accommodate your dietary needs.
yeah, it's a great option for any busy family.
So you said something earlier. I'm going to circle back to it because I found it interesting. You said you are going to scale your business because one-to-one is not going to be as effective as I'm guessing you're going more to the one-to-many or group coaching model. This is sort of a toss-up. A lot of folks think it's better to start with group coaching and then later offer a one-on-one higher priced package for folks who want more attention and need more personal attention. Other folks say, no, you should coach one-on-one. That's how you really learn your client, your trade, your craft. And then at one point, you take what you've been doing one-on-one and you start coaching one-to-many. So you're going one direction because that's how you did it. But now that you have gone down that path, what do you think is the best way for new coaches who have not taught one-on-one or one-to-many, but have something valuable to teach? Which direction or maybe offering both in parallel? You tell us.
Sure. So I am actually not moving away from one-to-one. I started one-to-one and I absolutely love it. I think that there is no replacement for individualized attention and advice and that customized aspect. I think that is a huge part of my uniqueness, the uniqueness of my offer. At least a couple of clients who have come to me are people who have already hired coaching. They hired coaches, or maybe even are still working with them. They hired their coaches in a group capacity, and they said that it simply wasn't enough. And it wasn't enough personalized, individualized attention. So, what I'm doing is I'm actually reducing the amount of time that I'm spending with each of my clients. Before, I was one to one, but I was doing all of the teaching as well as like giving customized advice, and like they would have homework and then I would correct it and I would, help them kind of sort out whatever it was they were struggling with. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to automate the teaching portion. And then when I speak to them, it'll be a shorter conversation, but I'm going to give them the actual like customized advice to their business. So for example, they will receive a module where it's still me teaching, right? And then we'll have a conversation after they've completed that module. Does that make sense? So it's still one to
Right.
one. I may move into group. I may move into group eventually. I've just heard so much positive feedback about the one to one model. I know that I, as a student, really appreciate it. I've also been in group programs and I've been very successful in those. So I do think there is a way to do the group program, but in my opinion, if you're a coach just starting out, do one to one. I mean, I think it's invaluable, the feedback that you get, and you really validate your offer. You validate yourself as a coach. You validate like whether or not you're able to achieve real results. And then if you want to move into group coaching or, whatever, a hybrid, then you can do that. But I mean, I personally think it's really important to validate your offer.
Awesome. Awesome advice. Was very interested to know what your take on that was. And I think that's a really good answer. And you gave the reason for it too. You said in one-on-one, you actually can see the results that you are creating for your client. That's not so true in a group setting.
Mm-mm. Nope.
So what are you working on now? How do people plug in with you? I mean, I know there's going to be listeners who are going to really want what you're offering because that's the kind of coaching, like you said, it's individualized and it's one-to-one and you're getting special attention and the program is customized for you. Not everybody wants group coaching. It's a lot easier to find good group coaching out there. But I think that what you're offering is rare and super valuable. I don't know many coaches who are taking the time to create a program like yours.
Thank you, Flavia. I really do appreciate that. Yeah, I really pride myself in offering a quality product and offering something that, again, coming from my educational background, is really going to create a huge difference in my clients' lives. So I really appreciate that sentiment. So people can connect with me in one of two ways. So if you are ready to work with me, all you have to do is go to janellelara.com, just my full name. And all the way at the bottom, there is a way that you can sign up for a call with me. So just scroll down to the bottom of the page, sign up for a call with me. It'll just take you straight to my calendar, and you can book a strategy session so we can chat about whether or not we're a good fit. If you want to learn more, if you are really interested in what I have to say, you want to learn more, I'm actually always running a challenge. So it's a 10-day challenge, and it's just an ongoing challenge for people who want to participate in it rather. And you can sign up on my website. It's called it's janellelara.com. And then you just click the tab that says 10-day, 20-hour challenge. And basically it's a 10-day challenge. You get 10 emails from me, one every day. And I give my individual, tips and tricks and life hacks on how I keep my work week under 20 hours. So it includes schedule blocking, but it also includes like the software I use, the systems I use, and things like that, and how I keep my work week into 20 hours so that I have the rest of the time to spend doing what I love and being with my family.
Well, those are two must-dos. So folks, get online, go to the website, and spell it out for us one more time.
Sure. So it's janellelara.com, JANELLELARA.com.
Janelle, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you so much for having me. And everyone, be sure to leave the lifestyle solopreneur a 5-star review. Let Flavia know that you love this podcast and that you love this episode. Thanks so much again for having me.
We'll all talk again soon. See you soon. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, and if you leave a review on iTunes, I promise I will read every single review. If you know someone who makes a full-time living from part-time work, and maybe this is you, please visit lifestylesolopreneur.com to nominate a guest or to nominate yourself. Because remember this, money doesn't buy happiness. But money in the hands of a happy person, there is no greater tool.
Today's episode was brought to you by the Get Shift Done program. It's a lifestyle-changing online class to help you define your business and lifestyle ambitions and to set goals in a way you've never experienced before. This class will 10x your daily productivity with methods that will blow your mind. And if you use the coupon code podcast, the class tuition is 99% off. Visit GetShiftDone.com to enroll today.